Jacqueline Bennett. I teach horticulture, floral design, ag biology, and cub group.
My name is Bella Rennie and I'm in 10th grade. I think it's a very serious threat facing civilization and that we should do all that we can to reverse it and its effects.
Climate change affects plant life in a lot of different ways. Anytime that the climate changes, plant populations are forced to adapt. Those populations that can survive which way the climate is going tend to survive more and therefore reproduce. But we see eliminations of populations with plant life due to climate change, but can also be a positive thing as well. Sometimes the climate can change in a way that plants benefit from.
Yes, if we take lots of action and right now.
I think there's positives and negatives to planting more trees. They do help with carbon dioxide, but we also have to think about fires. Appropriately managing forests is going to be a big part of moving forward.
The end of civilization, just extreme weather and it being just too hot to live, and mass extinction of like everything.
I don't do a lot of climate change this semester. We started looking a little bit about endangered species, both of plants and animals. It's not something I focus on a ton, but it is something that I like my students to be informed about.
I recycle. If I see trash, I pick it up, and I'm petitioning with a group to have the school take all plastic silverware out of the cafeteria.
Have any of you ever been in Scouts? If you have, did you reach the highest rank? Come with me and talk to a long-time running Eagle Scout and one who's working his way there.
My name is Logan Gustafson. I'm a junior at Cedar Willie High School. I have been involved in scouting for about 6 years now. One of my best memories from Scouts would be when we took a 50-mile canoe trip on Ross Lake into Canada.
I'm Brett Anderson and I teach a variety of social studies classes at Cedar Willie High School. I've been involved, well, I was a Cub Scout, so 2nd grade, and then I've been in Cub Scouts, well, then Boy Scouts until I was about 14, 15 years old, and I'm now currently an adult leader with my son's group. To get Eagle Scout means you don't quit. It means you can tolerate hardship. It means you can overcome, and to me, that's more important than the actual skills that you learned. It teaches you to deal with people while things are usually not going well.
I am part of Troop 4070.
The group that I was a part of in Silverdale, Washington was 1552, and my son's group right now is 4019 out of Bellingham.
My favorite merit badge would probably be paddleboarding. Just because it was a lot of fun.
My favorite badge, I guess my most memorable badge was life-saving. And that was my first year at summer camp, and it was tough because you actually had to save a person from drowning. And they acted out like they were really drowning, and so I got pushed to the bottom of the lake and got stuck in mud. And so I'll always remember like, whoa, I almost died. And so it was really, really hard.
Isn't it cool when you dedicate that much time in your life to something?
A lot of different language classes and other classes have clubs that involve them. The idea for the ASL Club has been around for a while, but the interest was really strong this year, so that's kind of why we went with it. Also, our campus currently has 2 deaf students here, so that definitely helped both their interest plus friends of theirs and people that want to be able to communicate with them showed a lot of interest. I was skeptical about the idea a little bit in the beginning, just to make sure that I didn't all end up falling on me, you know, to be responsible to organize everything and to come up with things to do. So I did wait until there was more involvement of students to try to come up with ideas of what they wanted to accomplish. The first meeting, it did go a little differently than I expected, just because I wasn't sure how many people would show up, how many of them would already know some sign language, and how many of them were just interested. And also, I kind of didn't organize too much of what was going to go on because I wanted the deaf students that were taking part in it to kind of have some ownership and come up with things. So there was a little bit of, you know, awkward silence and stuff, but it went well. I mean, you know, everyone introduced themselves in sign, and again, the biggest part is that it's what's called, you know, equal access, meaning that all parts are both spoken and signed at this point. But hopefully at some point in the future it'll be able to just be all voices off. And I think that as word spreads that people are going there and that it's open for all people, that we will have a better turnout.
Today we'll be interviewing Danny and the students of Cedar Roy High School about the problems in the parking lot.
Hi, welcome to the Department of Transportation. How can I help you? Well, I love the fact that it's fenced in and there's only 2 gates in and out. I don't like the fact that it's not big enough, you know, to support the students that actually have a driver's license. Personally, no problems for myself, but there have been a couple of small collisions out in the parking lot. We do have some students that seem to think that it's kind of a raceway out there where they want to spin tires, get sideways, and drive unsafe and put the life and safety of other students at risk by doing so.
Yes, I got hit twice in less than 2 weeks because the parking spots are super like small and it just gets really crowded and people don't pay attention. So.
Parking lot.
Do I think we should expand the parking lot? I believe so because right now we're parking in an area that I don't think we can use, and a lot of people are parking there, and I've heard a lot of complaints about like how, I don't know, it's just dirty and their cars get dirty around there because there's a lot of dirt. And a lot of people don't like parking there because it's like there's no parking lines, people just kind of block the entrances.
Parking lot.
Do I think the area by the tennis court should become a parking lot? Yes, because everyone already parks there. It's just we're not supposed to, so.
Well, there's a couple places I feel we can add more parking. On the other side of the fence going down Nelson Street, I think if we allow students to park out there, you know, at an angle, we could probably get about 50 more cars, you know, on campus. If we fix the lot out there in the front, the little grassy area where nobody really hangs out, I think if we make that parking, that will increase the parking here on campus.
Do I think that we should expand the parking lot? I think that we should because there are a number of people who are not able to park in the parking lot and they have to park way out next to the tennis courts and the C building, and we have had a lot of complaints in our community. So in order to not have those complaints, I think an expansion of the parking lot is necessary. And if you are not able to get to school before 7:30, then you have a very hard time finding a parking spot, and for those reasons I think we do need to expand the parking lot.
Well, there's no plan for me. I mean, there's speed bumps out there. We're just hoping that, you know, when students go to driver's ed that they are, you know, practicing the laws that they're learning, and, you know, it's just being safe drivers. It's not about safety for myself, it's about being safe and driving in a safe manner.
So in conclusion, people in Cedar High School feel like we should expand the parking lot for safer driving environment.
This area is designated the jewel room. The sign here says men's bathroom, but that sign is a lie because I haven't been able to use the bathroom in the past 3 months because of vaping. Vaping is dangerous. It has nicotine in it. Most importantly, it pisses me off. What is a jewel, you ask? Here, let me look it up for you. I'll probably come back. A jewel is an alternative form like e-cigarette, which heats up oil to create vapor that quickly evaporates into the air. A single pod costs around $5 and has the same amount of nicotine as a pack of cigarettes. What I don't understand, if you're already gonna break the law, just go off campus. Like, why vape here when you can vape here? You're still on camera, but if a teacher comes at you, there's plenty of escape routes. Or we can try here. That way, if a teacher tries to talk to you, you can get in your car and drive away. Or you can try here. On second thought, this might not be a good idea. Look, I'm not trying to stop you from vaping. Vape all you want for all I care. I just want the bathroom back. Because some of us actually have to go. Now, if you'll excuse me.
First found out that I won the MacIntyre, I was at a tennis match.
And out of the 9 people that got interviewed, 5 of us were on the team.
And we were all just getting like emails one by one, and Jill and I was so nervous, and
We all knew that we were waiting. We all knew that we were going to find out that day. And so we were all just kind of like super tense and like stressed. Everybody kept checking their emails.
I'm just gonna start manifesting that this is gonna happen, and you know, like we were all gonna be super happy for each other, even if, you know, none of us got it or one of us got it.
And I didn't want to check there because I just wanted to do it like by my own or like with my family. I didn't want to do it in that like tense
atmosphere.
And so on Wednesday, I had called the person in charge of here at the district, our school, and to find out who won, and they wouldn't tell me.
Mr. Williams really wanted to know whether or not I had gotten it because, you know, some other people knew before us, particularly like Jen Daly, like, because she has to know. And he was like bugging her about it all the time.
And she came in to say, hey, today's the day. And I said, please email me the minute you find out. If it's during the school day, please come back and see me. She came back after school and she didn't know. And she hadn't found out. So now I'm in a quandary. I'd hoped she would have found out. So I opened the door and yay, there we are. And so she hadn't found out. And she had a tennis match. And so she was nervous about her tennis match because she was playing a great player. On top of it, you know, this is a full ride to anywhere in Washington. And so I couldn't wait anymore. So I said, hey, open my storeroom.
And I went in there and there was a cake and a balloon and a card that said, I don't care whether you get it or not, I'm still proud of you anyway. So he was just excited.
Yeah, so during that match, Mr. Williams was there at the beginning.
When she found out wasn't until actually later in the match. So I watched her match and then I left when her match was over.
So he came prepared. He brought her a good luck balloon, pretending that he had no idea, and a congratulations cake. He left the cake in her car. So
I got an email about 6:30 or 6:40, I think it was sometime around there, she had found out. All the kids, there's like 4 or 5 of them that applied for the MacIntyre at the tennis match, and they all promised they wouldn't look. And I told her, no, you've got to tell me. And so she checked and she found out she'd won. And another young lady, Atsri, who also had applied, hadn't heard yet. And so Joey took the balloon.
And so what she did was she took the balloon and she rubbed it on my head and said she was giving me good luck.
And then lo and behold, Atsri wins too. And I've had Atsri in an art class too, so it was a double win that day. It was a fantastic moment for both of them to have their schooling paid for the next 4 years. So it was a great experience for them.
So when I found out I got the MacIntyre, my family was obviously very excited. I called them and I wasn't with them when I found out, so I called them and like right away my mom started crying and I could hear my dad in the background like freaking out. He thought he was having a heart attack because he couldn't believe it. And he kept asking me, like, are you sure? Like, don't get your hopes up, are you sure? And I'm like, yes, I'm sure. And then we called my grandparents and my aunt and uncle in Mexico. And they were super happy, too. They all started crying, and they just couldn't stop telling me, like, how proud they were of me and how happy they were for me. And it was just amazing.
As far as a major goes, or, like, some sort of direction as to where I want to go, I always thought that, like, I would go, first of all, I wanted to go into college with the idea knowing that I would probably take some classes and probably change my mind a little, like here or there. So nothing that I'm about to say is like really set in stone, but I've always been really interested in psychology. Since I was like 13, I wanted to be some sort of therapist. So I kind of want to be a psychotherapist.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to be going into cybersecurity. And so I want to pursue a bachelor's degree from Western. However, they have a partnership with Whatcom Community College for the associates, so I'm going to be going there for a few quarters. When I graduate in a few weeks, I'm going to have an associate's from Skagit from doing Running Start for 2 years. And so all of those credits are going to transfer there, and then once I finish my associate in cybersecurity, I'll transfer to Western to pursue my bachelor's in cybersecurity.
If there's any students ever been deserving of winning a MacIntyre, it's Joey, for not only for her life and what's happened in her life, but what she's done because of it. And so Joey's really the poster child for perseverance in adversity. You know, we all work here as adults, and we get to see some pretty special kids. In fact, they're all special, and that's why we stay here. And that's a unique thing to, I think, our school and our area that makes it special. And of anybody, Joey has seen some pretty tough times in her life. You know, she's had some deaths in her family at a very young age.
Some of the obstacles that I talked about in the MacIntyre were explaining my home situation. So I live with my aunt and uncle, and I have for the last like 8 years of my life. And that's because I lost my parents when I was about 10. So I lived with my aunt and uncle, and you know, they've been going through their own things and being people as they are.
She never wants that to be an excuse, and that's one of the things that why she has such my respect for her is here's a young lady who at a young age, 10 or 11, lost influential people that raised her, and now she's on her own, and she felt like alone. She's looked for guidance and direction to make good choices, and she's been able to take that information and then use it in her own way and then excel because of it. And that's what makes her so special. And that's why I think all of us were pulling for her to win the MacIntyre. It's like, Lord, if there was ever a person that should win this is the reason you do the MacIntyre. If you're a MacIntyre family, these are the kids you want to give it to. Not just the 4.0s, not just the AP, Chem, and Lit, and all those other classes she's taken. She's seen adversity right in the face and stared it in the face and has excelled at every level because of it.